What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Nash here. Welcome back to the channel. Wow, it's been a minute since I've actually said that. Wow. Anyway, so today we actually have a deck profile for you guys today. This is actually a deck that I took to a GOAT format tournament in Rancho Cucamonga at a card shop called Collectible Exchange. I was there back in December, at the end of December, for their Edison tournament, which unfortunately I went X6 that night, but this time around for GOAT format I actually went X2 and I got top 16. So it wasn't too bad, but I didn't top either. I didn't get pricing or anything, which I'm not mad about it. But this is a work in progress. But I want to get your guys' opinion on this deck, and let me know in the comments what cards you think I should take out and what cards I should put in for this deck. So let's get straight to it. Kicking things off, we obviously have the one copy of Black Luster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning. This version, I actually did not... this version, obviously from Magnificent Mavens, I actually did not pull this. I actually got this from Collectible Exchange in a trade, because I had a Korean version of this card, which I think I traded it actually to a friend. But yeah, this is one of the cards that I picked up from Collectible Exchange, and I'm actually gonna show you guys everything that I picked up from Collectible Exchange in Rancho, and then I'm gonna show you guys some other cards that I received from friends, and also from Bear Cave CCG. So this is everything that I pulled. So first up, we obviously have the Ghost Bell from Collectible Exchange, which I needed this, I think, for my Shark deck, I think. Kaiku, obviously, yes, it is a speed duel. Personally, I wanted their secret rare, but this one we'll have to do for now. I'm gonna throw this into my GOAT deck, but I don't know what to take out. Blaster, obviously, for my Mythic Ruler hat deck. Hydro Jet Shark for the Shark deck. Armored Shark, which you only need one copy, in my personal opinion. 3 copies of Pre-Mike Drill Beam for my Blue Eyes deck. 3 Boras, and then obviously two Blizzards for my Blackwing Edison deck. Those are everything that I picked up from Collectible Exchange, along with this and one other card that you might be seeing in this deck profile. And then from Bear Cave, because we did go to Bear Cave as later on, I picked up a copy of Thrust, a copy of Felgrand, obviously for the hat deck, Ether Burial, only one copy for the moment. I need 2 more to complete the set for Blue Eyes. DD Crow, obviously for hat, which looks amazing, and then of course Sinister Serpent, which I'm probably gonna throw this into GOATs as well. I don't know. And then just a bunch of cards that I picked up from friends. Pre-Might Roar for Blue Eyes, Ash Blossom, I think, for my Shark deck, and then these 4 for my hat deck as well. So Debris Dragon, Draco Sag, and a couple of Soul Charges. So shout outs to those that I traded. Obviously Bear Cave, CCG, as well as Collectible Exchange, and of course to the homies that I traded as well. But moving on. So obviously, again, 1 copy of BLS, probably one of the best 3K beaters in Go format, simply because of the fact that you simply just bring this guy out and you basically get to deal potentially up to 5,000 damage, depending on the board stay. I only saw this like at least like maybe once or twice throughout the whole tournament. Excuse me. What's really cool about this is that this is essentially like the boss monster, if you will, for goat, and it basically just it just does everything, right? Like it banishes it banishes monsters on the field. It can attack twice. I mean, there's not much else to say about that. Next up, we have a copy of Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke. This one is actually this card is super cracked, because if you guys do not know, the effect of this card reads as followed. If this card attacks a face-up defense position monster, destroy the monster with this card's effect without applying damage cal. So this essentially becomes the Go format version of Ally of Justice Catastor, where it just automatically pops the monster, and it just, that's it. Like literally, it just pops the monster, and it basically stays on the field. So theoretically speaking, let's say your opponent has a BLS on board, and you normal and you have committed to a normal summon of Sasuke. You attack into BLS, it gets destroyed, and you basically do not get dealt any damage whatsoever, which is insane. Absolutely insane. Next up, we have a single copy of Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. Obviously, you saw that I have that. Obviously, you saw that I have the second copy. So I am going to be throwing in the second copy, but I don't know what to take out. So once you guys have a look at the deck, you guys will have an understanding of where I was coming from. But this is actually really cool because this can basically force out the chaos strats of your opponent, where if they banish a light and a dark to summon a chaos monster, this basically forces it out. Or if they don't have any chaos monsters in hand, you can attack your opponent for potentially up to 1800, and you basically get to banish either 2 lights, 2 darks. You get to mix it up, do a bit of a mix and match if you want, and it forces them out of their chaos strat, which again, that's the whole idea of Go format. It's all chaos decks, and this one is more of a chaos warrior control, where you summon out warriors, and you essentially just get to just pounce on your opponent, which is insane. And what's funny is that, if I remember correctly, the original errata of this card said that you get to banish 2 cards from your opponent's grave. The errata, when this card first got reprinted, came out that you only get to banish 2 of your opponent's monsters. So it is a bit of a downgrade in my opinion, but it's actually a lot better that way, because you get to force your opponent out of their chaos strat, which is insane. Next up, we have a copy of Tribe Infecting Virus. Not much else to say about this. Like, you basically get to discard a card, call a type, whatever types on the board, those types get destroyed, and you basically get to pounce your opponent for 1600, which is insane. Not much else to say about that. Next up, we have 3 copies of Blade Knight. This is a bit of an interesting one because of a few reasons. For one, the stats on on a lot of these 4-star monsters are exactly the same. 1,600, 1,000. But what's cool about Blade Knight is that it has 2 interesting effects. The first one reads that as long as you have at least 1 card or less in your hand, Blade Knight's attack goes up to 2,000. And also, what's cool about this is that if it attacks a face down defense position monster and it's a flip monster, that flip monster's effect cannot be activated at all. So hypothetically speaking, if your opponent has, let's say they have a Magician of Faith, if you attack into that set Magician of Faith, then Moth's effect does not trigger, and you don't get and the opponent does not get to add a spell from their grave to their hand in any capacity, which is insane. So again, as long as you only have 1 card or less in your hand, then it goes up to 2K, which for the most part, you're not, which for this build, you are going to be having at least 1 card in your hand. But other than that, I mean, this card is actually decent. It's really, really busted. Next up, we have a single copy of Breaker the Magical Warrior. Obviously, this is basically your secondary MST, if you will, where on normal summon, you get to put a counter on this card, and then its attack points, its attack goes up to 1,900. And if you wanted to, before the battle phase, you could remove the counter to pop a back row, which for the most part you're not really going to do that, especially if you do have MST in your hand or something. Then you can go MST on the opponent's back row, and then just basically just swing for 19, which is pretty insane. Next up, DD Warrior Lady, only 1 copy because obviously it is at 1 in this format. Not much else to say about it. I mean, DD Warrior Lady is an absolute house. Even if it gets destroyed, you do get the option to banish both this card and the opponent's attacking monster, which for the most part you're gonna end up doing that anyway, solely because of the fact that you've got quite a few lights in the deck. Obviously the Blade Knights, Sasuke, and then of course, you know, all for BLS obviously. So other than that, I mean, it's actually pretty insane. Again, you banish your opponent's monster. So if you set this card and your opponent summons out Chaos Sork and they attack into this, you get the option of either banishing both cards or just not banishing it at all, which is kind of bad, especially if they have BLS in hand. That's kind of bad. So you really do want to banish both this card and the opponent's attacking monster. Next up, one copy of Don Zalug, probably one of the most, I wouldn't say one of the most broken, but one of the most like sacky cards in this deck for a couple of reasons. For one, you have to deal direct damage in order to use its effect. So hypothetically speaking, if you have this card on board set, and you normal summoned Don Zalug, like let's say this was your board state, right? This was your board state. And let's say your opponent has a set tribe infecting virus, right? You would flip DD Warrior Lady, attack into the tribe, They both get banished. Now you attack them directly for 14, and now you have a choice to either discard a card from their hand or mill 2 from the top of their deck, which for the most part, excuse me. Sorry about that, guys. I had to get a drink of water. For the most part, your opponent is gonna end up having at least two cards in their hand. So you're mostly just gonna end up discarding cards out of their hand. Which, if you end up discarding cards like Pot of Greed, Trap Dust Shoot, or anything like that, that's actually insane. It is insane. So the key goal for Don Zalug is to randomly discard cards out of their hand, so that way when they have no cards on board, or sorry, in hand, if you attack directly for 14, you get to force mill 2 cards from the top of their deck, which is cracked. Next up, 1 copy of Exile Force, obviously to pop the opponent's like big beaters, like BLS or Sorg or anything like that in any capacity, which is insane. 1 copy of Mystic Swordsman level 2, mainly for the flip monsters. So cards like Gravekeeper Spy, Magician of Faith, Mask of Darkness, cards like what else? I think Sangan. Oh wait, no. Sangan's I think the ruling is that Sangan's effect still triggers. So I think it's Moth, pretty much just like any set monster, including the Spies. Which for the most part, the Spies is going to be one of the main cards you're going to want to pop, which would be insane. And now to round out the monster lineup of this deck, we have 2 copies of Magician of Faith, obviously, to bring back cards like Pot of Greed, and of course, Graceful Charity. Now moving on into the spells. Speaking of Pot of Greed and Graceful Charity, for the spells, we have the unholy trinity of Pot of Greed, Graceful Charity, and Delinquent Duo. Arguably 3 of the most insane cards in this deck. So obviously Pot of Greed, we all know Pot of Greed. I'm not even gonna talk about it because of the memes. Basically, the idea for this is in your opening hand. If this is your opening hand right here, like say for example, your opener is Greed, Graceful Duo, plus I'll say Don Zalug, and we'll say Blade Knight, right? Let's say that. If you during your draw, if you end up drawing a card like, let's say, Trap Dust Shoe, you would go Pot of Greed, draw 2 naturally, then go Graceful, draw 3, and then discard potentially depending on what's in your hand, you could discard cards like potentially like DD Warrior Lady or something like that, and then potentially like a Magician of Faith or something, whatever, just whatever, and then go Duo, pay 1,000, discard a card out of your opponent's hand, then your opponent discards, you summon Blade Knight, you set Dust Shoot and pass. Now Blade Knight's attack points go up to 2,000, which would be insane. So again, if you are able to open your hand with the Unholy Trinity, you essentially have yourself a very powerful end board turn 1, which is crazy. Next up, we have 2 copies of Nobleman of Crossout, mainly because of the fact that you want the Spies gone as quickly as you can. You want the Magician of Face gone. Pretty much any flip monster that they have, you want them gone as quickly as you can, because with those gone, now your opponent can't use them as tribute fodder or anything like that. And what's even more cool is that if your opponent has a random Sinister Serpent set, you literally banish literally the key card that they need to potentially to potentially use as fodder for tribute summit. Whoa, sorry guys, I just moved my tripod. For tribute fodder for cards like Jinzo and Mobius, which is absolutely pretty wild. Next up, 2 copies of Reinforcement of the Army. Rhoda is actually really good in this deck because of the fact that if your opponent has a set spy or anything like that in any capacity, you literally you can add Blade Knight to your hand. You can add Mystic Swordsman. Literally pretty much any card that just automatically pops your opponent's monster, you can add it to your hand, summon it, and then just pop off from there, which is insane. And then for the rest of the 1-ofs, we got the one Heavy Storm, obviously to remove the opponent's back row. Metamorphosis for our fusion plays, which you guys will find out what my fusion deck looks like once we get to that point. 1 copy of MST, 1 Snatch Steal, obviously to snatch the opponent's monster for the Metamorphosis plays, which is crazy. And then to round out the spells, we got a copy of Foolish Burial to bring back cards like BLS or anything like that of the sort to potentially go for game. For the traps, this is actually a bit of a weird lineup for the traps, but first up, we have 3 copies of Sakuretsu Armor. I mean, it's Sakuretsu Armor. I mean, it pops an opponent's monster, and it basically just saves you from losing a duel. Not much else to say about that. 2 copies of Jar of Greed. I know that there were a lot of people that have always said that it's better to run it at 3. I feel like it's better to run it at 2, solely because of the fact that you've got Pot of Greed, you've got the Graceful, excuse me, and then of course you've got the Magician of Face to bring them back. So you essentially have you basically have yourself basically almost like 10. No, 8 draw card. 8. Essentially, you have 8, 9, 10 draw cards in this deck. Not only in the form of the jars, but also in the Rhodas, the Graceful, the Paw, and of course the Magician of Face as well. So you really don't need 3 copies. Some people prefer to run it at 3, but I think it's better off at 2, because if you do open with 2 jars and your opponent activates heavy, you've essentially baited out one of the strongest back row removal cards in GOAT, and you basically get a essential pot of greed, which is wild. Next up, we have 2 copies of Dust Tornado for more back row removal. 2 copies of Trap Dust Shoe. Funny thing, one of these dust shoots is is actually in my Blackwing Edison deck. Funny enough, so I only have two copies. These are the two. One of them goes into my Edison deck, which is kind of funny. But Trap Dust Shoot is absolutely wild. And funny thing is, if you open with if your opening hand is three Dust Shoots, you can essentially activate all three at once and remove three of your opponent's strongest monsters, and your opponent just has no choice but to scoop. And what's even more funny is that if your opponent's ending hand turn one, turn two, or turn one, I think it's turn two, is what is it, 4 cards? Or sorry, no, 5, or sorry, no, I think 5 cards. You can literally essentially remove three monster cards out of their hand, and then go duo to remove the rest of their hand. Now not only are they in top deck mode, but now you essentially have access to remove everything from your opponent's board to ultimately go for a game, which is nuts. Next up, one copy of Time Seal. I only have one copy of this card, but I think in Go format it's at 3. So if I'm able to pick up 2 more, I might be able to make this deck a lot stronger than it is. But Time Seal, absolutely nuts. It basically just forces your opponent to now draw in their next draw phase, which is wild. One copy of Torrential Tribute to remove to essentially wipe the board clean, which is crazy. Mirror Force to wipe the opponent's board clean, which is insane. One Call of the Haunted, which you can use. You can use it in one of 3 ways. You can either use it during the opponent's end phase to bring back one of the monsters that was destroyed during that battle phase. You can use it during the battle phase to essentially not die at that point. Or what you can also do is if you committed to a normal summon and your opponent activates Torrential Tribute, you essentially have a way to bring back one of the opponent's monster, not the opponent's monster, one of your monsters, and essentially have a strong monster on board. But if your opponent has BLS or Sork, you're pretty much screwed. But Call of the Haunted, absolutely wild. And then to round out the main deck, we have a copy of Solemn Judgment. It's weird because in Go format, Judgment's at 3, but I prefer to run it at 1, because why would you want to risk losing half of your life points 3 times just to just to negate everything, right? Like, why would you want to do that? You're literally risking 7,000 life points just to negate everything, which is dumb. In my opinion, it is dumb. But moving on to the extra deck, the fusion deck. A lot of these, literally every single one of these I didn't even use because I didn't see the plays with the Metamorphosis and Snatch Steal and whatnot. But this is what I would have ran. I'm running a copy of Thousand Eyes Restrict, which is wild, absolutely wild. Deep Sea Shark again, which is mainly for the level 5s, which again, a 1900 beater, kind of sick and kind of sick. Fiend Skull Dragon, I believe you can use a Fiend Skull as a meta target. I don't know if you can. I'm not entirely sure, but that's in there. Guiltia, the Dark Knight is also in here as well. This is the last card that I picked up from Collectible Exchange. Dark Bolter, the Terrible. This card is absolutely wild. It basically negates spells just by paying 1,000 life points. So if your opponent activates Pot of Greed, you pay 1,000, negate Pot of Greed. Now they can't get their +2, which is wild. Ryu Senshi, which similar to Dark Bolter, this one can actually negate traps, which is insane. One copy of Dark Blade, the Dragon Knight, which is basically Kaiku. But I believe you get to remove 3 monsters instead of 2. So this is actually a lot better than Kaiku. And then to round out the rest of the fusion deck for now, we have Thousand Dragon and of course Skull Knight. There are some fusions that I would like to get my hands on, because I'm still missing. This is what, 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. So I'm basically missing like 6, I think. Yeah, I think I'm missing like 6. So there are some fusions I would like to get my hands on, but a lot of them are kind of pricey right now, so I don't have enough. I don't have the resources to pick them up, but hopefully I can find them at a later time, but we will see. But moving into the side deck, this is a bit of a weird one. But for my side deck, I have a single copy of Mobius, the Mega Monarch. Funny thing is that a lot of people had said that this is better as a 2 of. It's better as a 1 of because you want to remove your opponent's back row and not your own. So if you do have back row and you hard drew Mobius, you wanna use up as much of your back row as possible, because if you're able to use up all of your back row, then you get to sack one of your weaker monsters for Mobius, and now you essentially get a Twin Twister on your opponent's back row, which is awesome. Then of course Chaos Sork, obviously, because it's a secondary chaos monster that you want to use in this deck, which is awesome. A second copy of Don Zalug, which this card is in here in case if I want to ultimately mill my opponent's entire deck, which using a deck similar to this against friends, I've done that before. I've went with battle phases where I would have cards like Sork and double Zalug on board, and I essentially just attack my opponent for 2,800 every single turn, and I basically force them to mill 4 cards from the top of their deck to their graveyard, which was kind of funny, but it's actually pretty crazy. 3 copies of Gravekeeper Spy, mainly in here for the mirror matches, which there were no mirror matches whatsoever because my deck was a bit unique, but still it's pretty cool. 1 copy of Sangan to get out cards like, to search out cards like Don Zalug, Gravekeeper Spy, the Magician of Faith, or whatever, which is awesome. Then of course we have 2 copies of Creature Swap. Funny thing is that if you have the Sangan on board and your opponent has a Jinzo or a Chaos Sork, you can go You can go normal summon. You can go normal summon Sangan, activate creature swap, give them your Sangan, and they give you their Chaos Sork or their Jinzo or whatever. Then you would go battle phase, attack into Sangan. You get not only do you get the search, but going into your second main phase, you can activate Metamorphosis and go into a level 6, which is kind of fun. Actually, kind of fun. One copy of Swords of Revealing Light to basically stall out the game for a few full cycle turns to try and power through your opponent's board, which is pretty insane. One copy of Magic Cylinder for when you know you have game. A third Dust Tornado to remove more back row. One copy of Ring of Destruction for again for when you know you have game, which I'm thinking of putting the Judgment in the side and moving Ring into the main. I don't know. I'm still deciding on that. And then last but not least, 2 copies of Royal Oppression for the Sork plays. So for the Chaos plays, which for the most part you're not really using Oppression all that much anyway. So I'm thinking of just cutting one out and throwing in the second Kaiku. I don't know. I still haven't really decided all that much anyway. So I don't know if I'm going to or not, but I do want to get your guys' opinion on the deck. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the deck and what cards you think I should put in here to make this deck even more broken than ever before. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this insane deck profile. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to smash that thumbs up button. And if you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more deck profiles in the future, which do not happen often in any capacity, be sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and as always, make sure you guys are following me on all of my social media. All of my ads will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash signing out.